People say the strongest businesses are built on trust. I learned the hard way. Trust can also destroy everything you've built. My name is Ethan Carter. 5 years ago, I co-founded a software company with my older brother, Noah. We started with an old laptop, a folding table, and a dream that seemed far too big for two ordinary brothers. Today, that same brother pretends he doesn't know me. But before I tell you how he ended up applying for a job at my company, you need to know how everything began. But before that, tell me, who is your protector? If it is Jesus, then hit like and subscribe right now. And if darkness is your protector, then simply skip this. Share the video so everyone knows who protects you, and leave a heart emoji. Now, watch. Growing up, Noah was always the favorite. He was confident, outgoing, and could make anyone laugh within minutes. I was different, quiet, patient, the one who preferred computers over parties. Whenever something in the house broke, my parents called me. Whenever they needed someone to solve a problem, they called me. But whenever there was praise to be given, it somehow always found Noah. I never complained. I told myself that actions mattered more than attention. After graduating with a degree in computer science, I accepted a stable job as a software developer. The salary was decent, the hours were comfortable, but every evening after work, I returned to my tiny apartment and worked on something that truly excited me. A cybersecurity platform for small businesses. I believed every company, no matter how small, deserved protection from hackers. For nearly a year, I lived the same routine. Work, code, sleep, repeat. There were nights when I fell asleep at my keyboard. Weekends disappeared, vacations became meaningless. But slowly, the software began to work. One evening, I demonstrated it to Noah. He watched quietly until the presentation ended. Then he smiled. "Ethan, this is brilliant." For the first time in years, I felt proud. He leaned forward. "You've built an incredible product, but you're terrible at selling." I laughed. He wasn't wrong. "I know. That's why you need me." He pulled out a notebook. "I know investors. I know clients. You build the technology. I'll build the business." The idea sounded perfect. He had connections. I had the product. Together, we could build something extraordinary. Within a month, we officially launched Carter Digital Solutions. The first few months were brutal. We heard the word no more times than I could count. Investors rejected us. Potential clients ignored our emails. Some weeks, we barely earned enough to pay office rent. There were nights when Noah and I shared a single pizza because neither of us wanted to spend extra money. Despite everything, we refused to quit. Then one Friday afternoon, everything changed. A local hospital signed a 1-year cybersecurity contract with us. It wasn't a huge deal, but it was enough. Enough to pay our employees. Enough to attract new clients. Enough to prove we were real. Over the next 2 years, our company grew faster than either of us expected. We hired engineers, opened a modern office downtown, signed contracts with law firms, banks, and healthcare providers. Business magazines even called us one of the fastest-growing startups in the state. My parents couldn't have been happier. Every family dinner became a celebration. Dad would proudly tell relatives, "My boys built this from nothing." Mom smiled every time she heard employees call us the Carter brothers. Life finally felt perfect, or so I thought. Then, little things began to change. Noah insisted on taking over all financial decisions. "I'll handle payroll. I'll handle investors. I'll handle legal paperwork. You just focus on technology." Honestly, that was exactly what I wanted. I hated meetings. I hated contracts. I trusted my brother completely. One afternoon, Noah walked into my office carrying a thick stack of papers. "We've got a major investor interested." "That's amazing. They just need a few signatures." I looked at the documents, page after page of legal language. I frowned. "Shouldn't I read these?" Noah laughed. "You've always been paranoid. Our lawyer already reviewed everything. It's just standard paperwork." I looked at him. He was my brother, the person I'd trusted my entire life. Without another thought, I picked up the pen and signed every page. I smiled as I handed the papers back. "This is the beginning of something huge." Noah smiled too, but this time, there was something different in his eyes, something I didn't recognize. If I had looked a little closer, if I had read just one page, everything that happened afterward could have been avoided. 3 days later, our biggest investor scheduled a meeting. Everyone in the office looked excited. "This is it," Noah said. "If this deal closes, we'll double the company's value." I smiled. Years of sleepless nights were finally paying off. The meeting lasted almost 2 hours. When it ended, the investor shook Noah's hand first, then mine. "I look forward to working with your company." As soon as they left, our employees erupted into applause. Someone ordered pizza. Another employee brought champagne. For the first time since launching Carter Digital Solutions, I felt like we had truly made it. That night, Noah suggested we celebrate. We sat on the rooftop of our office building, overlooking the city. "You know," he said while raising his glass, "you couldn't have done this without me." I smiled. "And I couldn't have done it without you," he laughed. "Exactly." Looking back, I wish I had noticed the way he smiled. It wasn't pride, it was satisfaction. The following Monday, I arrived at the office earlier than usual. The lobby felt strangely quiet. I walked toward the security gate. I tapped my access card. Access denied. I frowned. I tried again. Same result. One of our receptionists looked uncomfortable. "Good morning, Ethan. My card isn't working." She looked down at her desk. I was told not to let you in." I laughed. "Nice joke." Her face remained serious. Just then, the elevator doors opened. Noah stepped out wearing an expensive navy blue suit I'd never seen before. He looked completely calm. "What are you doing outside?" I held up my access card. "My key doesn't work." "It shouldn't." I stared at him. "What does that mean?" He walked closer and handed me a large envelope. "Open it." Inside were legal documents. Termination papers, corporate ownership records, board resolutions. I turned the pages faster and faster. My heart started pounding. According to every document, I no longer owned the company. Not 1%, not one share. This is impossible. I founded this company. Noah crossed his arms. You founded the product. I own the company. I looked at him in disbelief. No, I never agreed to this. He pointed at the final page. There, at the bottom, was my signature. The same signature I'd written on every document he asked me to sign. You said those were investor papers. He smiled. I said they were important. You assumed the rest. I felt sick. You tricked me. He shrugged. I outsmarted you. Employees had started gathering around us. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. They simply watched. I took a step closer. You stole everything. No, I acquired it legally. Your signature made sure of that. My hands were shaking. I'll take you to court. You can, but every document was reviewed by lawyers. Every signature is yours. Every witness saw you sign willingly. I knew exactly what he was saying. Legally, I had no case. Years of work, gone in a single afternoon. Then came the sentence that hurt the most. I don't need you anymore, Ethan. Security will escort you out. 2 security guards approached me, men I had personally hired. Neither of them could look me in the eye. One quietly said, I'm sorry. I picked up the small cardboard box they had packed from my office, a laptop, a coffee mug, a framed photo of the team on our first day. That was all that remained of 5 years of my life. As the elevator doors closed, I looked back one last time. Noah was already standing inside my office, sitting in my chair, smiling. I drove straight to my parents' house. If anyone would believe me, it had to be them. After all, they had watched me build that company from nothing. I had no idea walking through their front door would hurt even more than losing my business. I parked in front of my parents' house. For a few seconds, I just sat there. My hands were still shaking. I kept telling myself the same thing. They'll believe me. They knew who I was. They had watched me spend years building that company. Surely, they wouldn't believe Noah had done everything alone. I walked to the front door and knocked. Mom opened it. The moment she saw me, her smile disappeared. Ethan? Her voice sounded nervous. We've been expecting you. My heart sank. They already knew. I stepped inside. Dad was sitting in his favorite chair. Noah stood beside the fireplace with his arms crossed. Neither of them looked surprised to see me. I placed the legal documents on the coffee table. Dad, Noah stole my company. Before I could explain another word, Dad raised his hand. We've already talked. I frowned. Talked? Noah calmly replied. I told them everything. I looked straight at him. You lied. He shrugged. I told them exactly what happened. You decided to sell your ownership. Now you're trying to take it back. I slammed the documents onto the table. I never sold anything. You tricked me into signing those papers. Mom slowly picked up the documents. She looked at my signature. Then she looked at me. Honey, these are your signatures. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Because I trusted him, Dad sighed. Noah didn't force you. You're an adult. You signed the documents. You have to accept responsibility. I stared at my father. So you're taking his side? I'm taking the side of the facts. Those words cut deeper than losing my company. Noah smiled. You've always been emotional, Ethan. Business requires logic. I stepped toward him. You planned this from the beginning. He didn't deny it. Instead, he smiled. You were always the genius. But geniuses aren't always good businessmen. For a moment, I wanted to punch him. Instead, I took a deep breath. I'll fight this. I'll expose everything. Noah laughed. With what evidence? You signed every page. Our lawyer was present. The board approved it. You have nothing. I looked around the room, the same living room where we had celebrated birthdays, Christmas mornings, family dinners. Suddenly, it didn't feel like home anymore. Mom quietly whispered, Ethan, maybe it's time to let this go. I slowly turned toward her. Let it go? I lost everything. She lowered her head. You can start over. Dad stood up. I think it's best if you leave. For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then I nodded. Without another word, I walked toward the front door. As I reached it, I turned around one last time. I hope you never have to learn what betrayal feels like. Noah looked away. Dad remained silent. Mom began crying. The door closed behind me. That night, I drove for hours. No destination, no plan, just empty highways and endless thoughts. Around midnight, I stopped at a small diner outside Seattle. I ordered the cheapest meal on the menu. As I stared out the window, an elderly man sitting nearby noticed the documents scattered across my table. Tough day? I gave a small laugh. You could say that. He introduced himself. My name's Richard. We talked for nearly an hour. For some reason, I told him everything. The company, my brother, my parents. When I finished, Richard smiled. You know, I've heard stories like yours before. I frowned. You have? He nodded. I built 3 companies. I lost my first one. My business partner betrayed me. My second one failed. But my third, he smiled proudly, made me a billionaire. I stared at him. You were a CEO? He laughed. I was. Then he leaned forward. Let me ask you something. Who built the product? I did. Who solved the problems? I did. Who created the ideas? I did. Richard smiled again. Then they stole your company. They didn't steal your talent. Those words hit me harder than anything I'd heard all week. Before leaving, he handed me a business card. If you're serious about starting again, call me tomorrow. I looked down at the card. Richard Lawson, founder and former CEO, Lawson Technologies. As I watched him walk away, for the first time since losing everything, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. The next morning, I called Richard. He answered on the second ring. I was wondering when you'd call. An hour later, I met him at a quiet coffee shop overlooking Elliott Bay. He was nothing like the billionaires you see online. No expensive watch, no luxury suit, just a simple blue shirt and a notebook. He listened as I explained my software. Not once did he interrupt. When I finished, he asked only one question. If I gave you another chance, would you build the same company? I smiled. No. I'd build something even better. For the first time, Richard laughed. That's exactly the answer I was hoping for. He reached into his briefcase and slid a folder across the table. Inside was an investment proposal. $500,000 in seed funding. In exchange, he wanted only 15% of the company. I stared at the paper. Why me? Richard smiled. Because I don't invest in ideas. I invest in people. And you've already proven you can build a successful company. A week later, I signed the papers. This time, I read every single page, every word, every sentence. Richard noticed and smiled. Good. You've already learned your first lesson. For the next 5 years, my life became work, again. But this time, I was smarter. Every contract was reviewed twice. Every decision required transparency. Every employee was treated like family. I promised myself one thing. No one would ever experience the betrayal I had. We named the company Sentinel Cyber Systems. The first year was difficult. The second year, things started changing. Our software was faster, smarter, more secure than anything on the market. Major hospitals signed contracts, then banks, then government agencies. Within 5 years, Sentinel Cyber Systems became one of the fastest-growing cybersecurity companies in America. Forbes listed us among the country's most promising tech companies. Business magazines called me the quiet CEO. Richard called me one evening. You've officially built something bigger than your first company. I smiled. We did. No, he replied. You did. One Monday morning, my HR director walked into my office carrying a folder. We're hiring a new regional sales director. There are 3 final candidates. She placed the resumes on my desk. I casually opened the first one, the second, nothing special. Then I opened the third. My heart stopped. Noah Carter, age 35. Previous position, CEO, Carter Digital Solutions. Status, company bankrupt, seeking immediate employment. I read the resume again, twice, 3 times. The company he stole from me had collapsed. Poor leadership, lawsuits, lost clients, mass resignations. Everything had fallen apart. My assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Carter, your 2 p.m. interview candidate has arrived. I closed the folder. Send him in. A few moments later, the office door slowly opened. Noah walked inside. He was wearing an old suit. His shoulders were lower than I remembered. There was no confidence left in his eyes. He looked around the office, admiring the view, still unaware of whose office he had just entered. Then he turned toward the desk. Our eyes met. The color drained from his face. Ethan? For several seconds, neither of us said a word. The man who had stolen my company was now standing in my office, asking me for a job. Noah froze. His eyes widened. For a moment, he looked like he had seen a ghost. Ethan? I slowly stood from my chair. It's been a long time. He looked around the office again. The skyline, the awards on the wall, the company logo behind my desk. Then he looked back at me. You're the CEO? I nodded. Please, have a seat. He remained standing. I didn't know this was your company. I know. If you had, you probably wouldn't have applied. He lowered his head. You're right. The room fell silent. I opened his resume. So, you were CEO of Carter Digital Solutions. He swallowed. Yes. What happened? He took a deep breath. I thought running a company would be easy. It wasn't. I chased fast profits. I ignored the engineers. I fired people who disagreed with me. Our biggest clients left. Then investors pulled out. After that, the company collapsed. I looked at him quietly. The company didn't fail because you stole it. It failed because you never understood what made it successful. He couldn't argue because he knew I was right. After a long silence, he finally whispered, I'm sorry. I should have never done what I did. I was jealous. Everything came naturally to you. The ideas, the respect. I wanted people to admire me the way they admired you. So, I stole the only thing I thought would make me successful. He looked directly at me. It didn't.
A knock interrupted us. My assistant stepped inside.
Mr. Carter, there's another couple here. They say they're your parents. I closed my eyes for a second. Send them in. A minute later, Mom and Dad walked through the door. They looked older, tired. The confidence they once carried had disappeared. The moment they saw me, Mom burst into tears. Dad stood completely still. Neither of them expected to see me sitting behind the CEO's desk. My father finally spoke. We were wrong. I know. No, he continued. You don't understand. We weren't just wrong about the company. We were wrong about you. Mom wiped away her tears. When Noah lost everything, we finally learned the truth. The lawyers admitted he had manipulated the paperwork. Former employees told us what really happened. We should have believed you. Dad slowly stepped closer. I've spent 5 years wishing I could take that day back. I can't. But I hope one day you can forgive us. I looked at all three of them. 5 years ago, I had dreamed about this moment. I imagined making them feel exactly what I had felt: rejected, humiliated, alone. But standing there, I realized something. Revenge wouldn't give me back those 5 years. It would only steal more of my future. I closed Noah's resume. I'm not hiring you. His shoulders dropped. I understand. Then I smiled. But not because I hate you. You still have a lot to learn. A leadership position isn't where you start. I picked up another folder from my desk.
Our customer support department needs people.
It's an entry-level position. You'll earn every promotion, just like everyone else. Noah stared at me. You'd give me a chance? One chance. Not because you're my brother, but because everyone deserves the opportunity to become a better person. Tears rolled down his face. Thank you. He quietly accepted the offer. As he reached the door, he turned around. I spent 5 years trying to become a successful CEO. You became one by becoming a better man than I ever was. After they left, Richard walked into my office. He had heard everything. He smiled proudly. You passed. I laughed. Passed what? The final test. Anyone can build a successful company, but very few people can build success without letting bitterness control them. That evening, I stood by my office window overlooking Seattle. 5 years earlier, I had walked away with nothing but a cardboard box. Today, I owned a company thousands of people depended on, not because life had been fair, but because I refused to let betrayal define me. I finally understood something my brother never did. A company can be stolen, money can be lost, but character is something no one can ever take away.